In a world where loyalty is often taken for granted, my trust was shattered when I discovered my wife's affair with her boss. Of course, I didn't just sit back. My revenge against her wasn't just verbal, but also physical. But then something curious happened that changed the game. This is my story, straightforward and true. "Enjoy. Dad, it's Mom," said my daughter Jenny as she handed me the phone. I had a fair idea what the talk would be about, but it was my first with my wife, Karen, since she had left for her business trip that morning. I overheard my wife, Karen, ask, "Hey, baby, can my sweet teddy bear supervise a dozen teenagers today?" I replied, "I'd like to believe I can handle this. Jenny and her friends have been planning this for several weeks, so all I have to do is follow their directions. They're all 18 or 19, so I'm not attempting to manage a group of toddlers." She asked, "Did you set up the pool the way she wanted it?" I responded, Yes, there are chairs in the lounge, at the grill, the food is prepared. I did it all while you were gone. Next year you'll be a chaperone. Don't tell me you weren't looking forward to this. There will be a dozen teenagers in bikinis all afternoon. I'm willing to wager that when I get home you'll be ready for me. Don't forget, one of them is our daughter, and 2 more are like surrogate daughters. I don't need to be surrounded by a dozen bikini-clad teenagers to be prepared for you. I'm always ready for you every day. I'm sure you are, and I like it. I asked, "Have you had a good trip?" She responded, "We did. It was a worthwhile learning meeting." Karen worked for a mid-size financial firm in a Chicago suburb. She was a senior investment advisor who had been there for about 6 years. "That's wonderful, honey. Have a safe return trip from New York." "Thanks, I will. Meet you later this afternoon." "Love you, Karen." "I love you, Mark." Jenny rolled her eyes at me, though she was glad her parents still loved one another as much as they did. She aspired to be as in love with her husband after 25 years of marriage. I was lost in my own thoughts for a moment, thinking about Teddy Bear. I had been her lover till the children were born. Then I was daddy till our oldest child left for college. I've been her teddy bear ever since. I didn't mind it too much. She enjoyed snuggling close to me and told me she liked sleeping with me next to her. Was Teddy Bear a sore point? Who could I complain to? I, my daughter, and her 2 best friends had spent the last few days preparing for the party. It was only 2 weeks till she and her friends began college classes. Most of them wanted a large celebration before driving off to other parts of the country. She was beginning her junior year of medicine at the University of Illinois, roughly 20 miles north of our home in Naperville. She lived with her longtime best pals in an on-campus apartment. She was a really lovely girl who, like her mother, stood approximately 56 and was curvaceous. Lily and Carrie, her best friends, stayed the night and had been assisting that morning. Lily was also a tall, thin, and handsome African-American with light pecan brown skin and beautifully long curled hair. At 5'10", she was a full inch taller than me, which she ruthlessly tormented. I did not mind. I adored her and loved having her around. She was like a sister to Jenny and a second daughter to me. She and Jenny had been inseparable since 3rd grade. She was on a track and field scholarship at the University of Illinois, which covered a portion of her tuition. She ran the 800 m, 100 m, and mile. When she was younger, she used to run with me. However, when she grew older, I informed her that I could no longer run with her since I was holding her back. She missed running with me. She was a bright young lady who was majoring in math and computer science. Carrie, Jenny's other best friend, was the first person she ever met on her first day of elementary school. Carrie had dropped her lunch, which their housekeeper had prepared for her, and Jenny gave her half of it because her parents had always encouraged her to serve others. When Lily arrived, they formed their own version of the 3 Musketeers, as they were almost inseparable. Carrie only received a 1200 on her SATs, but she was able to attend the University of Illinois thanks to her parents' money and previous connections. They joked that she could have gotten a 600 and still been admitted. As a prank in high school, rather than being voted most likely to succeed or receiving some other meaningless award, she was chosen the most likely to purchase an island. She was a little blonde doll with a cute body on her little 52 frame. They were a good group, much like 3 sisters. I enjoyed having the three of them there with me. An outdoor kitchen adjacent to the side of the two-story pool house is located underneath the backyard pavilion. I built almost everything myself throughout the years. We had the table ready to serve lunch, and the rest of their companions were expected to arrive shortly. It was a lovely August day, and the lounge chairs were set up. The pool was pristine, and I had mowed and trimmed the lawn. Jenny appeared to have inherited her mother's organizational and event planning skills, and she had kept me busy for the past 2 days. She was my little child, and she gushed about me whenever she had the chance. I was more embarrassed than boastful, and I was confident in my abilities, but not to brag about them. She figured developing and maintaining my modest consulting firm would suffice for some men. She was unconcerned about what other men did. She knew the fathers of the bulk of the girls who came over, and if they had to vote on who had the finest dad, hers would most certainly receive the majority of first-place votes. After assisting to serve a beautiful spread of food and non-alcoholic beverages, I said, "Okay, ladies, I am going back inside. Let me know if you require anything." Lily asked, "Are you certain you don't want to stay out here and eat with us?" "Thank you, Lily. This is for everyone to enjoy. I'm good." This afternoon was solely for the girls. I'd kept myself busy in my office, from where I could see the pavilion and a section of the pool. When the girls began removing their cover-ups and garments to display their swimwear, I retreated to the den to watch the Cubs lose another game so I wouldn't appear creepy. I'd been watching for approximately 20 minutes when I heard a ruckus outside by the pool and went to investigate. I noticed a muscular young man holding Carrie's wrist and attempting to pull her away from her companions, who had surrounded them and yelled for him to stop. I dashed outside and approached the group, yelling, "Hey, asshole, let her go." The enormous guy, perhaps 63, saw me and smirked, not bothering to slow down as he pulled a protesting Carrie to the exit. Little Carrie didn't even weigh 115 pounds, and he was about twice her size. As I got near, asshole forced Lily out of the way and she stumbled. I tried to catch her, but her tall figure collided with my nose and heart. For a split second I saw stars, then recovered, and I dashed to be between Carrie, the intruder, and the gate leading into the driveway. "Let me go, Ricky!" shouted Carrie. "Girls, get back!" All of the other girls stepped away from the 3 people involved in the altercation, but only a short distance. Some people had their phones out filming. I said, "Let her go." I said, "Asshole." I came in close to Ricky, who thought that having 6 inches and 60 or 70 pounds on me meant he didn't have to worry about me. Because his right hand was gripping Carrie's wrist, he attempted to throw a left jab at me. That was his first error. I dodged low and with momentum behind me delivered a good punch to Ricky's solar plexus. A large flood of breath burst out of his mouth, and he leaned back, taking the impact and quickly releasing Carrie. I applied a strong knee to Ricky's nuts, forcing him to his hands and knees. "Get out of my backyard, asshole." Ricky cautiously rose to his feet and stated, "You're not as big as my old man said you were. I'm going to enjoy slamming you around." The large guy prepared to take another punch at me. However, it was telegraphed so far in advance that I had to wait before responding. It was evident that this individual had no training. Thankfully, I dove under the large roundhouse right hook. I pushed my right foot behind asshole's right leg as hard as I could. Ricky was already off balance from the botched swing, so he went backward over my knee, landing hard on his back. I responded, "Just leave. I don't want to hurt you." Several of the young females laughed as the shorter man threatened the outmatched giant. Ricky's giggles didn't help as he climbed. "You move quite well for a teddy bear, although my dad refers to you as a small teddy bear." I wondered where he acquired his information. How would he know about Ricky? They came for him again, but I was growing irritated. I realized I needed to act before I lost my anger and my self-control. Ricky attempted to mimic a right jab, but performed miserably when throwing a left punch. I avoided it. I was waiting for what would happen next. Another right hook that appeared to originate in Birmingham and slowly zipped by my head. As Ricky's arm passed over my head, I moved in and delivered a deadly combo to asshole on his right side, which housed his kidneys and liver. I felt that was the hardest it ever hit someone with my hands. Ricky fell like a stone. It took him 45 seconds merely to get on his hands and knees. Nobody was laughing anymore as he forced himself onto his knees and prepared to stand. I grasped one of Asshole's hands behind his back and applied enough pressure to his fingers that they nearly shattered. Once he was on his feet, I led Ricky through the still-open gate and shoved him out into the driveway. After I let him go, Ricky moved like an old crippled man, with his side supported. Ricky had had enough battling, but he wasn't finished talking. You may call your wife darling, but my father refers to her as his sweet kitten. Surprised? Just because she says she's traveling doesn't imply she actually is. They occasionally stay in town so she can enjoy his large tool uninterrupted for a few days near home. I said, "You're correct. If you want to continue talking trash about my wife, we can go back into the backyard. Continue yapping, asshole." Anyway, I would not believe you even if you claimed you had proof. Now that you've been embarrassed, all you have are falsehoods. We'll see about that. I'll believe it once I see it in my hands. I gestured to my hand. Even then, it's likely that someone will fake it. Ricky only smirked as I looked around. Ricky discovered Carrie's BMW and hit the hood of her SUV hard enough with his fist to dent it. I finally noticed the sounds of the other girls yelling and gesturing at the young man. I had been so absorbed a few moments before that I didn't notice them. Ricky slumped into his Audi and walked away. I turned around to see many young ladies making very unladylike gestures toward Ricky while photographing the events on their cell phones. I announced, "Come on, ladies, the show is over. Back inside, please. Do not share that video with anyone yet. Let's discuss it for a few minutes first, okay?" I heard Jenny exclaim, "Daddy, your nose is bleeding." In the next moment, Lily was yelling commands at everyone to make a place for me on a chaise lounge chair under one of the umbrellas. "Jenny, go find him clean clothing. Carrie, grab him a bag of ice." She got me to sit down and started ripping my shirt off to press against my nose. The remaining 11 girls all had a good look at this really fit and lean man in his late 40s. They had never expected what they had just witnessed. I had about a dozen bikini-clad nurses who were eager to assist me, but with Lily in charge, that seemed doubtful. One of them dashed into the pavilion to grab me something to drink. Another attempted to ease me back so I could lie down. The rest were chatting about what had transpired while glancing at me. When Carrie and Jenny returned, I placed the ice on my nose and inquired, "Who the hell was that asshole? Who would raise such a piece of shit, Carrie? What did he want from you?" Jenny came in to respond to the first. "That asshole, Ricky Stanton, as you like to call him, is the son of Michael Stanton, Mom's boss." Shit. Those initial claims simply shifted from some stupid kid talking garbage to possibly a stupid kid who knows something. Fuck, fuck, fuck. I didn't want my concern to be known even to the others. Carrie explained, "He was chasing me because we went out just a few weeks ago, and when he asked me out again, I declined. I tried to be pleasant, but he was not very nice about it. I'm sorry he came here. I'm not sure how he found me, but I believe one of the crew posted about today's party on social media." She implored with her pals to halt what they were doing. Looking back at me, she questioned, "Mr. Clark, how did your nose begin bleeding? Has he never touched you?" I stated, "I believe that was from when I attempted to apprehend my other daughter, Lily. She bumped into me on the side of her head. It hit my nose. I grinned at Lily. 'I'm so sorry, Dad.' Lily had been calling me Dad for many years. When he pushed me, you were so close, and as you tried to catch me, we were entangled. I did not mean to bump your nose." I gripped her hand. "Do not worry. It was not your fault. It does not feel broken. I just noticed." Lily was glad to hear that. I expressed concern over the videos. I realize this is a lot to ask of you guys, but please do not share a video of what transpired with anyone outside of this group. No social media posts, emails, or text messages to your buddies. Nothing, please. "Why, Daddy? You did nothing wrong. You could have seriously injured him if you wanted to," Jenny inquired. I responded, "In the first place, I do not want any smears against your mother to be spread. We know they're not true, but they still don't sound right. Also, someone with that type of rage would try to retaliate against Carrie, me, or any of us if that video went viral. Don't you see, would he be embarrassed and seek retribution? He still might, but I'd hate for one of you to be leaving a movie theater or a college class late at night and have him sneak up behind you and attack you because he's furious, foolish, or intoxicated. Sure, he'd be jailed eventually, but with his temper, he may be deadly and cause lasting damage. Jenny asked, "Will you call the police?" "I'm afraid so. We don't need to determine whether to bring charges right now, but he assaulted Carrie and Lily and attempted to harm me." A few girls laughed at Ricky's effort to assault the smaller man. He also damaged the hood of Carrie's SUV and trespassed. "I am sure there are other things. I'll have someone come out and take our statements. It should not take long. I apologize, but we have to do this." "Can you still have your pool party?" I asked Carrie. "Is your wrist okay?" "Yes, I think so." He held it firmly so it could bruise, but nothing else. I nodded. Carrie questioned, "Mr. C, where did you learn to accomplish this? Ricky is a huge guy in good form. I know he has won a few battles. It's quite dull. Are you sure you want to hear this?" A dozen bikini-clad women were shaking their heads up and down, not a bad sight to see. I shrugged. When I was in high school, I was periodically mocked for my height. My parents are both short, so I knew this was unlikely to change. I was always in fantastic shape because I did track in junior high and then cross-country in high school. I was also really good, competing in the state finals. But one night while I was a junior, I went on a date with a nice girl. And when we were leaving the movie theater, a couple of enormous assholes like Ricky attempted to bother us. They did for a minute, but I attempted to ignore them and pushed my way forward. Being on a date, I didn't want to initiate anything, so I let them push me a little. Fortunately, a couple of my pals were also present. They saw what was going on and joined us, leaving only two assholes. We ended our date, and I headed home. I was quite angry. I informed my father about it, and the next day he helped me find a martial arts studio near our Austin home. He advised me, "Be the best you can be, but if you ever get good, don't look for trouble." I vowed to defend you and others exclusively, and I took 2 lessons every week until I started college at Texas A&M. While attending college in College Station, I discovered a studio that taught a variety of disciplines, including Silat, a close combat style, as well as judo and jiu-jitsu. They did not follow a specific style because their primary focus was self-defense. I trained there for 4 years of college. The instructor was a very old man about my height, and his daughter was about my size, in her late 30s. He commanded the school alongside his daughter, who was the most incredible warrior I'd ever seen, fast, fearless, and deadly. I watched her spar against large, swift black belts, and they hardly touched her. They typically wished they hadn't. I knew I wanted to learn from her, so for 4 years I took 2 or 4 lessons per week. I was doing well for a while. He was modest. When I married Karen, we still lived in College Station, but I reduced my lessons to 1 per week. She has never seen me in a match during our entire marriage. She knows I practice in our basement gym, but that's all. Jenny, when you entered college a few years ago, I discovered a nearby studio and resumed studying. I'm not as good as I once was, but I still do okay. Jenny replied, "Daddy, I never realized. You didn't have to, darling." Jenny, do you remember when we took you and Donnie to Paris when he was in 9th grade and you were in 7th? She nodded. Do you remember the time we drove out to that Moroccan restaurant in the shadowy part of town? She nodded again. I told your mother I didn't want to go there because I didn't think it was a secure place to be at night. Of course, she disagreed. The conversation became heated after a time, but I eventually succumbed, as I usually do. It was an excellent restaurant. I enjoyed it. Do you remember what happened on the way back to the car? Jenny responded. 2 males, a tall and a short one, approached us from behind and yelled at us to stop. You gave Mom the keys and directed her to escort us to the car and start honking once we got inside. That's correct. While the 3 of you escaped, I was preparing to stop or slow them down. If I wasn't there immediately, I knew she'd contact the cops, but I was curious how long it would have taken for them to arrive in that part of town. After you departed, the tall one took out a knife and said, "Money." I doubt he spoke much English beyond that. I raised my hands as if I didn't want any difficulty, but ultimately he got close enough that I had to confront him. I kept him between myself and the short guy. I instantly stole his knife from him and inserted it into the side of his knee. I'm amazed you didn't hear the scream he let out. As the short guy pulled his own knife, I struck him, and his knife dropped away from us. While the tall guy's screaming piqued the interest of several of their pals who began running towards us. At this point, I started racing towards the car, hoping you were inside. I felt in control with the first two people, but there were 6 or 7 more headed my way. I decided caution was the greater part of valor, so it was time for me to depart. When I heard the horn, I dashed towards the car. Your mother had pulled onto the street, ready to depart. I got into the front seat and instructed her to punch it. Since we've been married, that was the only other time I had encountered anything like that until today. That was a tiny falsehood. What he didn't tell them was that after Donnie and Jenny were born, shortly before they relocated to Dallas, he and Karen went dancing one night while still living in College Station. Bobby Taylor, her former college boyfriend and Texas Longhorns football player, contacted them. Karen seemed unconcerned, but I was furious when he asked Karen to dance and she agreed. They just danced for a few minutes, but when I noticed him go into the restroom, I followed the jock. A wide receiver at Ricky's Heights sneered at me and began talking about how much he missed Karen and perhaps they dance a little more that evening. I wasn't in the mood because the old flame was going to push me out of the way to exit the lavatory. I slammed him to the floor. The huge guy fell at an unexpected angle, landed on his arm, and shattered his collarbone at the elbow, thereby ending his season. The Longhorns brought in a substitute who performed so well that Bobby was eventually traded to another team. There were no charges filed. I proceeded with my companions, so please don't send that footage to anyone. Before the end of the day, there should only be 13 copies, including myself, and never more. They all promised me not to send it to anyone. I hoped they intended it. I realize this dampens the mood, but don't let it. Hez an asshole. Forget him. Lily said, "You mean Hez an asshole?" I grinned, and several of the girls giggled. I stood up and went inside to contact the cops. When the police came, I was greeted by all those attractive women in their swimwear. They hastily covered up, and I asked them to describe what had transpired. I checked Carrie's wrist, which was still red but not seriously wounded. My nose had stopped bleeding, thus I had transformed. Carrie's mother had come over because her father had not yet returned from a trip. The entire discussion only lasted 30 to 40 minutes. The celebration resumed once the police car drew away. Carrie hugged her mother and watched as she drove away. Jenny also approached me and asked, "Dad, do you mind if we stay here until we go to Carrie's? We planned to go dancing after supper, but after this afternoon, we'd rather dance here tonight. It's your home, Jenny. You know I do not mind. I adore having you here." She hugged her father and rejoined her friends. I caught the final inning of the Cubs game. They were obviously losing while I was watching. I got an SMS from Karen. The plane was delayed. "We will be home late." I exhaled. That small seed of doubt was beginning to trouble me, and I despised how some of Ricky's statements hit so close to home. I needed my wife to come home so that we could discuss. I danced with some more of my friends, or more accurately, they were dancing beside me. They attempted to teach me the electric slide again, but I never quite got it right, which amused everyone, including me. Around 10 p.m., they needed to travel to Carrie's house, which had a lot of bedrooms. I had really sweet hugs, kisses, and thank yous from all the young girls as they went. After a little assistance, it did not take long to tidy up outside. I heard the garage door open as I was emptying the garbage cans. Karen was home. I stepped out to assist her with her bag, and she gave me a warm hug and a short kiss on the lips as I approached. She said, "I miss you, baby. How was the party? It was intriguing." I'll explain that in a minute. They had just left to go to Carrie's for the night. I assumed they were going out dancing, I added. They chose to dance here. I'm sure you noticed that. Have you turned off the light and watched them from inside? That upset me slightly, but I responded, "No. Lily took me outside with her, and I danced with the majority of them before they left. If I weren't so exhausted after the cross-country journey and delays, I'm sure you'd be in a great mood right now." I would be delighted to take care of you. I wasn't in the mood either. I said, let me get your bag inside and pour you a glass of wine. I have quite a story to tell you. She was intrigued by what had transpired and followed me inside. When she returned to the living room, she sipped her wine and watched me sit across from her rather than beside her. She snickered, assuming this was serious. I went on to detail what transpired, including phoning the police but omitting Ricky's dialogue. She was stunned that someone could just barge into our property and harm innocent Carrie. I then revealed the identity of the assailant. His name is Ricky Stanton. Michael's nickname is Ricky. Karen's expression was one of shock and amazement. No way, I can't believe he'd do that. There must be an error. I stated explicitly that Michael forgot to teach him a few things. Then I pondered about things like politeness, respect, how to fight, and when to close his massive trap. Karen paused for a second. Wait a minute, Rick is big. Do you mean you took him out of the backyard like trash? She let out a little giggle. She giggled some more, and then she began giggling. What? She said, you are making this up, correct? My hubby, all 165 pounds of you, smashed that tank. He appears to be around twice your size. Okay, what is the joke? I wasn't as amused. She saw my dejected expression and urged, come on, Jake, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but be realistic. I stood and said, good night, Karen. Do not pout, sweetheart. I do not mean that negatively. How else could he handle it? I'll be there once I finish this glass. She was astounded when I responded, do not bother. Karen yelled out to me as I went into the kitchen to place my glass in the sink, but I did not respond. When she went upstairs to our bedroom, I was not there. I was in the guest room. She asked, Jake, what are you doing in here? I missed you and was going to snuggle with my teddy bear tonight. Teddy bear? I was now curious as to why she was using that pet name. Was it a term of fondness or derision? I could explode over her usage of the term right now, but I was emotionally fatigued and needed a clear mind to consider things through in the morning. I answered, well, I suppose we'll both be disappointed then. I closed and locked the door. After a few minutes of pounding and pleading, she eventually left and walked to our bedroom, perplexed by the change of events. Her husband seems to be losing his head. She thought of texting her daughter to find out more, but it was late. She'd see her in the morning. Besides, her spouse couldn't possibly accomplish what he stated. It was not doable. I figured she'd sleep late the next morning after a long travel and a few days on West Coast time. I wondered if she had gone on a trip, which upset me because I was now questioning everything. I sneaked into our bedroom and fetched some jogging clothing, after which I changed and ate a small breakfast. When I heard her start to move, I went for a long run, covering 7 miles in just under 53 minutes. Later, I returned. Karen didn't look happy when I walked in. Mister, we need to chat. I don't think you told me the entire thing last night. I ignored her and went into the shower. She followed, but once inside the bathroom, I locked the door behind me. She pounded on the door, but I continued with my shower and shave. Once dressed and refreshed, I prepared to confront my wife. I went downstairs to enter my home office. She was already waiting for me. Michael called me this morning. I'm not sure I understood the entire story last night. Ricky had blood in his urine and had to go to the ER late yesterday. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. She said, Ricky told Michael that he was just talking to Carrie when you suddenly appeared behind him and whacked him in the back with something. They suspect you bruised a kidney. Michael wishes to pursue charges. I responded, why am I not surprised that the little asshole lies about the incident? He's probably humiliated that your tiny teddy bear threw him out like rubbish, as you said. Michael is quite angry. Why did you do that? Why did you attack him? I attacked the unfortunate boy because he was attacking Carrie. You know, the Carrie we've loved as if she were our own daughter for more than a decade. We took Carrie, Jenny, and Lily to Spain for 2 weeks to celebrate Jenny and their high school graduations. That same Carrie was being dragged out of our backyard by that disrespectful piece of shit, and I stopped it. Are you suggesting you believe their tale, but not your husband's? Do you think I sucker punched him? Karen stated, I apologize, Jake. No way could you do it face to face. I wanted to throw something in her face. How the hell could that foolish kid know what he knew? I was furious that I had to let that slide for the time being, because all I had was Ricky's hearsay and insufficient evidence to accuse her of anything without her easily evading the accusation. And if true, she will be more cautious in the future. The entire scenario stunk, but if the accusations were true, they were done. So you don't think I could do it face-to-face, Mantaman? No offense, honey, I love you like no one else, but he's massive, enduring, amazing shape. But you're no match for him, remember Paris? You were sprinting as fast as you could with that small guy chasing you, trying to get to the car before he caught you. That was after I dealt with the large guy. He was not going to capture me, and I was sprinting because I stopped. It was pointless. It was immediately evident what she thought of me regaling a hard-fought and successful battle. Battles wouldn't be effective. I could see it was already a lost cause, maybe in more ways than one. She added, "Do you have any concept of how tough this will make my life?" That surprised me. Excuse me? What was I supposed to do? Would you prefer to have used a gun? I'd like to know what you hit him with. My hands, I responded. Shit. I've seen you work out in our basement gym. You make a strong effort to get the bag, but I don't understand how you could have wounded Ricky by simply hitting him. How could you have gotten a clean shot without sneaking up on him? Thanks for your faith, sweetie. It boosts your confidence. In case you didn't pick up on it, that was sarcasm. Exaggeratedly, she rolled her eyes and moaned, "Come on, that is not helping. What do I tell Michael?" You tell him that he raised his piece of shit son to be an asshole, seems like him, and Ricky needs to apologize to both Carrie and me. I won't. Ricky informed him what happened, and it appears you did nothing wrong. I shook my head. You must be insane to believe him over your hubby. Did Michael give you any drugs while you were traveling? Karen's expression was furious at the insult, and she was going to respond when they heard a vehicle come up and honk its horn. Thank you for the reprieve. They stood to see who was present. It was a large SUV, and people departed the vehicle. Jenny, Lily, Carrie, and her father, Brian. All three of the girls went up and hugged me, then Karen. A bit later, Brian stepped up and shook my hand. Jake, I'd like to thank you for watching after Carrie. It means a lot to me that you would do this. She is everything to me. I will be forever thankful. I shrugged my shoulders, uncomfortable with the compliment. You know we adore Carrie. No way was I going to let that asshole go with her. This wasn't going to happen. You'd have done the same. Brian nodded and Karen said, "Girls, could you please explain what happened?" Ricky told his father a different version of events than Jake told me. Jenny asked, "You're receiving two separate stories and you don't believe Dad?" Well, not quite. That's not what I'm saying. I just prefer to hear it from someone else. I'm not sure how that all sounds. Preposterous. I shook my head and walked back inside. I would not remain there long while the girls narrated the entire scene to Karen. I grabbed my laptop and an overnight bag. I was getting away before I said anything that I couldn't take back. I needed time to ponder what I was going to do next. When I returned outside, Brian, Carrie, and Lily were gone, leaving Karen dumbfounded. How could her spouse have done this? When she saw the shock on his wife's face, he realized how far he had fallen, especially given her attention to how this affected her and her profession, not him, his daughter, or Carrie. It spoke volumes. I inquired, "So what are we going to do about that asshole? Someone needs to educate him proper manners." Karen scoffed. "And you believe you're going to be the one to accomplish it?" I could not believe it. She had just heard 3 individuals support my account, but she still didn't believe he was capable of handling it. Asshole. She must believe her husband is some kind of coward. She said, "He's probably pretty furious." I smirked, thinking that Ricky was probably still pissing blood. The next thing she uttered killed me. I doubt he'd be as lucky the following time. The expression on my face warned her she had gone too far. She meant it and was simply trying to protect her spouse from harm. How could he confront such a huge, strong young man directly? She watched as his countenance changed from disbelief to wrath. "When did you lose all respect for me as a man, Karen? You didn't always treat me like this. You used to have faith in me. I see that is now gone. You are being silly. My feelings for you have not changed. I'm proud of you and everything we've done together, so call me skeptical. Did you know I have Clavel executives from many Fortune 500 businesses on my Contacts app? These people contact me at my company when they require assistance. That's how I make a living. My company may not be as successful as Michael's, but my employees and I are well respected in our sector. Apparently, I receive far more respect than I do at home. These previous couple of days have been incredibly informative when it comes to what you think of me. What does this mean? Not to worry about. I have made a decision. If that piece of shit, either him or his father, isn't here at 6:00 p.m. tomorrow to apologize to myself and Carrie, then Brian and I will contact the police and file charges. He has to pay for the hood of her SUV as well. You can't be serious. I still need to work with Michael. Perhaps you can persuade him to teach his son good manners and to respect others. Clearly he hasn't learned that from his dad, but given how much time you spend with him, I'm sure you're aware of this. Jake, this could jeopardize my employment. So Karen, see what this is doing to us, but it does not appear that you perceive it this way. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., Brian and I are phoning the cops. I'm going out for a while. No, you're not. We're not finished talking about this. We are completed and I need to be apart from you. I'm going over to Brian's to discuss this. I'm not calling them assholes, Father, because he listens to you. You can inform him what his child needs to do to avoid jail time. The clock is ticking. Jake, come back here. I ignored her, walked into the garage, put my bag in my car, and drove away with Karen standing there with her hands on her hips and an exasperated grimace on her face. I had never done anything like this. When driving to Brian's, I also determined that I needed to do some traveling for my business. What I worried was that based on his wife's reaction and hers and Ricky's statements, she had already succumbed to Michael. Traveling would take me away from her and give me a chance to observe how connected she was with Michael. At this point, I believed the foolish kid. Damn you, Karen. Brian and I chatted and agreed on 6:00 p.m. They'd either contact the cops or wait until tomorrow. I went to a local hotel and sat at the desk, working while the Cubs game played in the background. Around 5:00 p.m., my phone rang. I had banned Karen's phone number on the home phone so I could enjoy some solitude. I wondered who it was. Hello. Hey, Dad. Hi, Jenny, she said. I'm driving back to the apartment. Are you nearby at the University of Illinois? Jenny shared a college apartment with Carrie and Lily. All University of Illinois undergraduates are obliged to reside on campus. When campus housing requests appeared to be selected by the draw, the three undergraduates living together in one of those very good flats was an unusual arrangement. Supposedly, there is an extremely complicated selection process for getting into one of those prized flats. I assumed Brian merely inquired how much he needed to pay to the institution to make it happen, and it occurred. Brian and his wife were born with money, a lot of old-school money. He also did well in entertainment law in Chicago. He hailed from a long line of Chicagoans and had made large contributions to the Chicago Medical Center in Illinois, the county seat. Pete, I'm at the house, and there's plenty of room for 13. I will be there in a few minutes. 10 minutes later, I heard a knock at the door. When I opened it, Jenny hugged me tightly. I do not understand, Daddy. Why would Mom believe him over you? I'd say she doesn't believe I can defend my family. Jenny said she should. I informed her about Paris. I shrugged. Let me guess. She did not believe you. Jenny shook her head, and I could see a tear leak from her eye. I'm sorry, baby. Maybe Great Big Michael convinced her that I didn't quite measure up. I do not know. You don't believe what that asshole said, do you? For the second time, I wanted to explain that I believed Karen had lost all respect for me as a man because she was most certainly screwing someone much bigger than me. I wanted to tell my daughter that it appeared that her mother was a 304, but I didn't say that. I denied everything, saying he was just talking garbage. I despised lying to my daughter, but I didn't want her to think such things about her mother. They may turn out to be true, and while things did not appear to be going well, this was only supposition at the moment. Do not worry, sweetheart. Everything will be okay. You'll see. She said, I want to believe you, Daddy. Yet I'm afraid. Do not be. Well, be okay. She wondered if Mom and him were a family. She left a few minutes later. School would restart in a few weeks, and she had her summer internship at the University Medical Center that had a few more days remaining. The next day, I checked my home security app on my phone to see when the garage doors opened and closed, marking when Karen had departed for work. Running your own small consulting firm had the advantage of allowing you to work from home when you weren't traveling. The downside was that you couldn't flee to the office if you were fighting with your wife. Finally, at lunch, I examined my messages. I received 20 texts from my wife, some of which were pretty long. Most of them were about my outrageous behavior. The last one stated, "You've gone too far. Hell, arrive at 6. I left you a voicemail." After I checked my voicemail, I ignored all of them, which I would eventually delete, but listen to the final one. "Jake, Michael mentioned that Ricky would be there a few minutes before 6 tonight to apologize. I'm still not happy with you for placing me in this situation. We can discuss that after everyone has left." I rolled my eyes. It was still my fault. I was scheduled to drive up to Louisville, Kentucky to conduct an operations planning whiteboarding session for one of my clients all day Thursday and Friday morning. I resolved to drive there tonight after the apologies and arrive a few days early. I would cover one hotel night myself and meet with the client in person on Wednesday. At 5:45 p.m., Brian and Carrie came. She gave me a hearty embrace, and Brian shook my hand, saying, "This should be interesting. Are you and Karen okay? It seemed like this was putting you in a difficult situation. There's nothing to worry about. We will be." She's trying to grasp her brain around her little hubby beating up huge big Ricky. I'll admit that I was astonished by how convincingly you did it, rather than that you did it at all. I suppose I shouldn't have been. You've always seemed well prepared in everything you do. Thank you, Brian. Hopefully Karen will remember this as well. If you don't mind, we'll wait outside since I don't want that piece of garbage in my home. I wouldn't either. A few minutes before 6 p.m., a red two-door BMW drove into their driveway. Ricky did not look delighted when he got out. Karen still had not arrived. He approached the three of us standing there and said, "Carrie, I apologize for Saturday. I miss you and wanted us to get out again. I know we won't be going out again, but I hope I didn't ruin our friendship." "I'm sorry." He appeared sorry, but I suspected he was simply searching for an opportunity to get into her trousers someday. Carrie remarked, "I am not sure if we will ever be friends again, Ricky, but I will try to be polite and friendly. That's the best I can do right now. I understand." Ricky turned to face Brian. "Mr. Houston, I apologize for what I did to Carrie and her SUV. Just send us the bill and we'll take care of it." The words "I'm sorry" were whatever he said. He didn't appear to be sorry. Brian merely nodded. When Ricky looked at me, the contriteness had vanished. "Mr. Clark, I apologize for disrupting the party and intruding on your property. I shouldn't have done that." "Okay, Ricky. Thank you. I suppose we're done here." Before Ricky turned to walk back to his car, when he reached the car door, he wore a smirk that everyone could see. He looked at me and mouthed the word, "kitten." I opened my hand and pointed to it like I did on Saturday, indicating that I believed him once I saw the evidence. Ricky grinned and climbed into his car. Brian replied, "Well, his apology to Carrie appeared sincere, but ours did not." "What did he say to you before he drove off?" I shook my head. "Nothing significant. We had a conversation while he was leaving the other day. He was bringing it up to try to irritate me again. Carrie wanted to say something, but she regretted agreeing to go out with him in the first place." "What a horrible decision," Brian stated. "So if you need any assistance with him, please let me know. With a single phone call, I can assemble a legal team to represent him and his father. I might even recruit a deputy or two to shadow him over a couple of weekends. That may prove entertaining." He smiled at that thought. "Thank you, Brian. Let's hold off on it for now. I have a few other issues I need to address first." Brian nodded. After dropping off Jenny at home yesterday, Carrie notified her parents about Ricky's unpleasant remarks about Karen. They'd known Karen for years. None of them believed he was telling the truth. At least they hoped so. Brian and I shook hands. Carrie gave me a final embrace, and they drove away. I unlocked the garage and drove away. After they departed, Karen's automobile approached as I pulled out of my driveway. I did not even try to wave as I pointed my car north toward Louisville. I would utilize the time to decide what I was going to do about gathering evidence. In one way or another, most importantly, I needed to get away. I was still furious with my wife for the disrespect and with Ricky's charges on top of that. I knew I'd be unable to refrain from saying something I'd later regret. I would utilize the time apart to calm myself and prepare. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. I debated not responding, but felt there was nothing to lose except the frustration. Maybe I could convince her to leave me alone while I was gone. "Hello, Karen. Jake, I hope you're just going to the grocery and returning right back." "No. My client needed me to arrive in Louisville a few days early. I'll stay until after I have lunch with him on Friday. I should be home in time to have dinner with you after that." Then I decided to do a little digging. "That assumes you will not be traveling with Michael this weekend." The comment took her by surprise. "What? No. I only travel every 6 to 8 weeks. Why are you saying that?" "It is nothing. If you had been there on Saturday, you would have witnessed the entire event. I'm still a little upset you've taken Ricky's side. I am sure you are, and I'm sorry. Michael isn't very happy either, but that is understandable." "Did Ricky show up to apologize?" I stated. He appeared to sincerely apologize to Carrie, but I assumed that was because he'd still want to try to have sex with her someday. He apologized to Brian and me, but it was the most phony apology I've ever gotten. "You and Michael should feel relieved that he isn't going to be charged and arrested. He really is a huge asshole," Karen admitted. "I'm glad I didn't have to be there. I'd say that makes 2 of us. I'll see you Friday night." "Okay, baby. I'm sorry." As I drove out of town, I hung up and reflected. What the hell am I going to do if it's true? 1, I can ask her for a divorce, which is extremely difficult. Even though the kids are grown, Jenny's brother is still in college. Also, Jenny's parents have spent 25 years together. It's tough to throw it all away. Or 2, I can confront her with what I discovered. I will not ignore what Ricky said, but if I can find evidence, it might go both ways. Hell, this whole thing might blow up in my face, I concluded. I need evidence, a lot of it. I need to know exactly when and where this shit happened and who else knew about it. I need a plan. That night, I arrived in Louisville and checked into a hotel. I spent a couple of hours working on my laptop preparing for the meeting the next day. My mind kept drifting back to Karen and Ricky's accusations. It was eating me up inside. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run. Running always helped me clear my mind. As I ran through the quiet streets, I thought about how to get the proof I needed. I knew I had to be smart about this. I couldn't just accuse Karen without solid evidence. I returned to the hotel, showered and dressed for my meeting. The client was a large manufacturing company looking to improve their operations. The meeting went well, but my mind was only half there. After the meeting, I returned to the hotel and started making some calls. First, I called a private investigator. I needed someone who could dig into Karen's activities and find out if she was really having an affair. I explained the situation to the investigator, a no-nonsense guy named Mike. "Mike, I need you to be discreet. I don't want her to know she's being watched," I said. "Don't worry, Jake, this isn't my first rodeo. I'll find out what's going on," Mike assured me. Next, I called a lawyer. If it turned out Karen was cheating, I wanted to be prepared. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Linda, listened to my story and gave me some advice. "Jake, if you find evidence of the affair, we can use it in the divorce proceedings. But you need to be careful. Make sure you get solid proof," Linda said. "Thanks, Linda. I'll keep you posted," I replied. Over the next few days, I tried to focus on my work, but it was hard. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart skipped a beat. I was waiting for updates from Mike. Finally, on Thursday afternoon, he called. "Jake, I've got something for you," Mike said. "What did you find?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Karen has been meeting with Michael Stanton at a hotel in the city. I've got pictures and video. They're definitely more than just co-workers," Mike explained. "Send me everything you have," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. When the files came through, I felt a mix of anger and relief. There it was, the proof I needed. Karen had been lying to me all along. I forwarded the files to Linda and asked her to start preparing the divorce papers. That night, I drove back to our house in Naperville. I felt a strange sense of calm. I knew what I had to do, and I was ready. When I got home, Karen was waiting for me. "Jake, we need to talk," she said, looking nervous. "You're right, Karen, we do need to talk." "But first, let me show you something," I said, pulling out my phone and showing her the pictures and videos Mike had sent me. Karen's face went pale. "Jake, I can explain," she stammered. "There's nothing to explain, Karen. I trusted you and you betrayed me. It's over. I've already contacted a lawyer. You'll be hearing from her soon," I said, my voice cold and steady. "Jake, please, I made a mistake. Don't throw everything away," she pleaded. "I'm not throwing anything away, Karen. You did that when you decided to cheat." "I'm done," I said, turning and walking out of the room. As I left the house, I felt a sense of freedom. I had done what I needed to do. I had taken control of my life again. It wouldn't be easy, but I knew I'd be okay. I was ready to move on. Thanks for watching. How would you handle discovering your spouse's betrayal? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories.